how long have you been doing this? Where you do them, where you're personally in the car and stuff? That's.
I just started doing this.
Okay.
A couple of months ago.
Got it.
And I thought this is a really good way to get to know people.
Yeah.
Because when you're sitting across a desk and you're doing that very formal, and by the way, camera's rolling already.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
When you're doing that very formal interview,
Sure.
You know, it's very stuffy and no one really gets to know anybody.
Great idea.
And people want to know you.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna fade away. It's just a shadow away. It's just a shadow away. Whoa.
So I want to tell you, we just passed Frank's school and this whole neighborhood, and
Sure.
I know you know this neighborhood so well.
That's where I go to church.
Yeah. So this neighborhood was the aldermanic district for my uncle, who was George Fitchett.
Okay.
So George Fitchett was an old UAW guy.
Remember
been a city
George
council
Fitchett?
guy forever here.
He was an alderman back when Dorff was mayor.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So my sort of original Kenosha
Bloody.
sort of family sort of world was that he was a guy so committed to this particular neighborhood and area, and kind of does my heart good in terms of me thinking about our family's legacy, that I'm somebody trying to keep this neighborhood safe now. So I've always thought it was kind of a weird circumstance that the DA's office is now in the old jail,
Sure.
right? So anybody who's been around town for years and years, when they come in here, they say, "Oh yeah, I remember this is the jail," and it's why our every wall that we have are thick concrete. Yeah, one of the things I immediately learned when I came to Kenosha was you can entertain yourself all summer at these church festivals, and I've never seen a city like this
that does it that well.
That way, yeah. I mean, I lived in Madison for those years in law school. There's no equivalent like that, So talk about a place that's a city but has that sort of small town way of sort of making everybody feel welcoming. And there you go. It's every weekend you got these church festivals where there's almost a little competition to do it well, and that's just a great thing. That's well, I mean, tell me any city you've ever been in, any equivalent size of this that has the food variety and the sort of superb food we have here.
We've got amazing food here.
I mean, there's 10 pizza places I would pick over any pizza in Madison.
Yes.
10.
Yes.
I'm a donut guy. Mm-hmm. There's 2 donut bakeries here, Paelli's and Oliver's, which are the best donuts I've ever had in my life.
So good. Yeah.
Best donuts. And then they have Italian bread, which is phenomenal, So
I love both Paelli's and Cardinelli's bread.
Yeah.
Something about that brick oven feel of the Cardinelli's bread that really does it.
Awesome. Their bread is awesome.
We should have had it all, rolling in the deep.
So I arrived here in '89.
Okay.
First job out of law school.
Yeah.
So I was in Madison, and my apartment was rented still through the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Had finished law school and had a job working for a state senator while I was in law school. So I had a full-time job, I had a girlfriend in Madison, and I had an apartment I had to pay for anyway. So I sort of thought to myself, I wouldn't mind not getting a prosecutor job for the summer.
Right.
Madison in the summer is not bad, right?
Right.
So a job came up here, and I'd been, done my whole law school to become a prosecutor. And I came to the courthouse in Kenosha, and I came to this interview full of really serious people, talking very seriously. And I have to tell you, I was in the middle of my finals, so I was a little punchy because I was in the middle of my last finals in my whole life for law school. And so my memory of the interview is I never think I really gave a straight answer in the entire interview. I basically acted like it was a comedy routine, right? So they would say something, and I would say something, that I thought was funny
Witty.
and sort of smart, right?
Yep.
And so I left, and I'm driving back to Madison, and I'm in this car that I was barely hanging on. It was a huge Buick LeSabre, barely working, a horrible color smoke coming out of it. And I'm driving back, and I get into a panic. I think to myself, you're going to become famous statewide as a guy who went to a prosecutor interview and completely blew it, never gave a single serious answer, basically made a mockery of the whole interview process.
Yeah.
And I thought, you're going to be famous. You're not only never going to be a prosecutor, you're going to be legendary as a guy who completely blew his opportunity in those moments.
Right.
And so I was in this complete panic. and this is before cell phones, 89, right?
Was it nervousness that made you a smartass? You think?
Totally nervous. No,
Yeah.
I just don't think I was. I think that I didn't need it as much as, I wasn't really
Yeah.
trying to get the first job.
Yeah.
And I was punchy just because I was in the middle of finals, had already taken
Sure.
one that day, had another one the next day.
Sure.
And so I get back to my house. I am sure that I have just screwed myself forever. And there's a phone message on my answering machine from Bob Jamboy offering me the job. So that's my horrible practical career advice to anybody who talks to me. So, of course, none of this existed, right? So we
No,
both
this is a
know
lakefront
this
plant.
back in. So this was kind of blighted in '89.
It was.
Nothing pretty out here.
It
then.
was. There's the old smokestack right there. It still stands.
Yeah. And to think about the progress made in those, now it's been 30. This is my 30th year as a prosecutor. And I think about the changes here.
So beautiful.
It's unbelievable what they did down here. This whole museum, lakefront district has completely transformed the downtown, sort of in attitude, in in people's mood to live here, in how you can spend your summer.
I'd
right?
say our quality of life has improved.
Directly related to that.
And
Directly related.
I think our quality of life dipped in this community, and they made a comeback.
Yeah.
But the diversity of jobs that are here and that are coming,
Yeah.
this is such an exciting time to live in southeastern Wisconsin.
Yeah, it really is. So, let me tell you one thing that I love about Kenosha in terms of its public officials, right? So, no one loves public officials overall, but
We have some good ones, though.
But
We do.
you know what we do on a local level in Kenosha better than any place I've seen, and that is that people work together in ways where there's huge fiefdoms and partisan stuff that happens in other places. So we have some of it here, but
We have some,
the
but it's not
mayor and the
Chicago.
county do not fight. Those guys
Correct.
are on the same team.
Yes.
The sheriff, who's a Republican, and me, a Democrat,
Are working together.
are working together all the time.
Sure.
And he and I are on exactly the same page. And Samantha Kirkman, the Alton County legislator, and our city legislators, Todd Onstadt, are people working together all the time. So we have a tradition in this county, and I think this is
Locally,
Joe
yeah.
Andrea's kind of legacy to us, right? The old state senator.
I think Joe Andrea, they broke the mold when they made him.
Yeah, me too. But he really stood for people just being practical.
Yeah.
Okay, so my very first day of work was the summer of '89. I'm driving that Buick LeSabre I told you about. I'm driving back to the Shagbark Apartments. I'm driving here, and I'm listening to music, just thinking about my very first day of work. It's about 5. It's light outside because it's summer, and suddenly, where that second bus is, I notice that the front of my car is literally on fire.
Oh, boy.
So I take this quick turn and I park in front of the bar here. And of course, I'm talking about such an ancient story in '89. They had a payphone in there. And I went in and I called a tow service, called 911, called a tow service. Fire department came, put it out, gave them the title of the car. It was Jantz Towing just down the street, and said, all I need you to do is, in exchange for having this car, I need you to drive me to a car lot. And they took me to the car lot on 89th and Sheridan down there, which I don't think exists anymore. So I'm the only guy ever to show up at a used car lot in a tow truck. So I'm a fanatic baseball guy, and one of the things I immediately loved about Kenosha too is old-time Kenosha was really a baseball town. And I don't know, do you feel that way too? There's plenty of places in Wisconsin where they're really football towns and so forth. But old-time Kenosha was a baseball town.
Yeah,